Welcome to the Liquidity Event, a show about all things personal finance with a laser focus on taxes, financial independence, and equity compensation. Hosted by AJ and Shane of Brooklyn FI, each episode will focus on a personal finance topic, some driven by news headlines and sometimes driven by listener questions. And sometimes you'll just get two money nerds rambling about what they think is interesting. Just a quick note before we get started, this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered tax or investment advice.
Hello, and welcome to the Liquidity Event. Just kidding. This is a Liquidity Event. We're your hosts, AJ.
And I'm Shane.
And this is episode 127, being recorded on November 26th, airing on November 29th. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Hope y'all had a beautiful turkey day. Quick reminder for you listeners, we will answer your questions live on the pod. If you leave us a message, you can disguise your voice. Use a fake name if you're shy. The link is memo.fm/the Liquidity Event. How are you doing today, Shane?
I'm good. Yeah, pretty standard day. Rainy in New York. The weather's finally, it's becoming wintertime. Once they put away, once the vestibule season kicks off, we start booking flights south of here. So
awesome. Well, thanks so much for asking. I did see Wicked last night. Loved it. Cried the whole time. Went to see it with my two.
You wanted me to ask about you going to the movies last night?
Well, I am wearing a witch hat. So for those of you listening, highly recommend you check out the YouTube because I am wearing my alphabet hat, which I'm now going to take off because it's made of polyester and is very hot. I know you think I'm a basic bitch, but it's a fun cultural event.
Things that are objectively bad that you align with because every basic in America is doing continues to rock. So
I don't think Wicked is objectively bad. I actually disagree with that.
Let's just check the Rotten Tomatoes score here. It's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's like a fun musical. Wicked. No, you can't. Anyway.
There was a New York Times article about a guy that was like, I was stoked to go see it. It was surprisingly so bad that I can't even review it. I feel bad panning it. It was like on the cover of the Times the other day. I thought that's going to be a bad movie.
Oh, interesting. My dad loved it, and my dad has actually good taste. So, here we are.
What's good about Wicked?
It's just really, it's beautiful. Visually, it's stunning. I think it's very fun. It's like a lighthearted, it's a musical comedy. Like if you hate musicals, you're going to hate it. Like,
it looks AI generated from the
It's not. They actually used very, very little CGI. That was their big thing. Ariana Grande was fantastic. So was Cynthia Erivo, and I loved it. I really did.
Tight.
I literally cried the whole time. I haven't cried that hard in a long time. It's about female friendship. You wouldn't get it.
I would not understand female friendship. That's true.
All right, folks, we do have a wicked show for you today. We are going to talk about year-end tax planning that you can do as a person or if you're a business owner. It is year-end tax planning season. Year-end tax planning season, let's be honest, Shane, is coming to a close. If you have not done your year-end tax planning by the end of November, you're going to have a very busy and stressful December. There's just a lot to do, and as nobody except accountants knows, it's really hard to do tax planning for the year that ended after the year is over. So the time to actually make changes on your tax return has been throughout the year. It's not too late now. There's still a bunch of things we can do. We're going to talk about those today. But Shane, you for years worked as a pure accountant. People would come and have their taxes done by you. What's the craziest shit people tried to ask you to do, after the year was over?
I don't know about after the year was over. Probably the craziest tax planning question I ever got was from a Wall Street guy who was a good client for years, tax client. He was going to get married to his long-term girlfriend, and their wedding was scheduled for December 20th. Mm-hmm. I don't know why.
Oh, that's my wedding anniversary, for those who are wondering.
Oh, cool. So more of the AJ show. The AJ show continues. No mention of me chopping 10 inches of my hair off or my date from yesterday or any of these other things in Shane's life. We're just going to talk about Wicked. All right. Anyway, so this guy asked me, by the way,
wow. Okay.
He asked me if he would push his...
How do you really feel? I'm sorry. I hung out with you 16 times after you cut your hair off. I didn't mention it on the podcast. Shane did cut his hair off. It looks great. It really does. It looks great.
We had thank you. We had a lovely, was that Sunday we had brunch together?
It was Sunday.
Yeah, because your housewarming party over the weekend, or your renovation party was on Saturday, and you were drunk when I got there at 6. And I left to go to the Modest Mouse show at like 9, and you were still raging, and it turns out you were up till what, 2?
It was a late one for me. And reader, I do not stay up till 2 very often.
Tell me about your type A Sunday morning that you had, AJ, because...
Well, reader,
dear listener,
whatever.
You're still in the academic
I'm still
world.
Drunk.
She's still drunk from Saturday.
I went to a hot yoga class at 8 a.m. And then after hot yoga, I walked to the coffee shop and got myself an egg sandwich. Then I went to the golf simulator and hit golf balls very poorly because I literally was still drunk and couldn't balance for an hour. And then I came home and threw up and went to sleep. And then I met you 2 hours later.
Oh, you just slide that one in. Slide that little throw up in. Do you know how many times I throw up from drinking a year? 0, AJ. What the hell? What did you?
You know what they used to call me in college?
Boot and Rally Alley?
That's correct.
I know you very well.
All right. Anyway, your tax client, Wall Street guy.
He was getting married, and as a Wall Street guy does, he was curious if there would be any advantages to doing some tax planning around his marriage. So he asked me if the tax brackets would, his tax situation would be better if he got married in December or January. And it turned out, because of the marriage penalty that existed back in 2015 or 16, him and his fiance were both very high income earners. So if they got married in December, they would pay a marriage penalty of like $50,000.
Jesus, really?
Yeah, they made like $900K as a couple. So I told him if he wanted to save $50K, essentially get a free wedding, he should push it back to January. This is in I want to say July. And
so still time to change the date. It's not like 2 weeks
exactly.
before. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2 months go by and I don't hear from him again. I said, hey, man. So I just emailed him out of the blue. I was like, hey, did your wife take that, or your fiance take that idea very well? And he said, oh no, we're getting married in December.
Which is the correct answer. We have advised clients over the years. Yeah, just, I don't know. I feel like some people are very, you start planning a wedding, you can't move it, like shit happens. But I think we have advised clients to get a city hall marriage ahead in a certain tax year, especially when you have one high income earner and one lower income earner. That's when you really see the benefits of marriage. You can, especially if you're a business owner, wife it up, you guys, or husband it up. Having a lower income earning spouse or a no income earning spouse. The tax code was written for that, right? The tax code is written to have preferential treatment for a single earner household with 2 children, right? You get a child tax credit. It is literally better for your tax bracket, strictly speaking. Obviously, it's better to have more income, but it's better to have your spouse not work. Love the patriarchy. Although we are, across our clients, we are seeing a lot of the woman being the higher earner in the marriage, which we love to see. All right. So what can we do between now and the end of the year? What are the big ticket items? For me, just off the top of my head, this is like a no-brainer, you guys. If you haven't maxed out your 401k and you live in a high tax state and you have the savings capacity, please, for the love of God, max out your 401k. It's a huge tax benefit to your income this year. You will pay less income tax, full stop. Don't do Roth. I don't want to have that conversation right now. Disagree?
This isn't the podcast with the traditional IRA or traditional 401k versus Roth. No. I mean, if you're a low income earner, you should definitely use a Roth IRA. If you're making below $100,000,
how would you? Yeah, below 100 is how you define that. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
probably.
Fine. I'll agree to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're making less than 100K, you're probably not listening to this podcast.
Rude. What's another no-brainer? I mean,
you're going to be really close as well. If you're listening to financial planning podcasts, yeah.
Another kind of no-brainer to me is a Roth IRA, not a Roth 401k, right? If you've got disposable income, if you make too much money, you can go through the back door. We can do a backdoor Roth IRA. That's pretty advanced. People try to do it themselves. We correct it all the time. Folks, please don't try to do it yourself. It's an extra tax form. Do not invite that complexity into your life. Ask a CPA or your lovely financial planners here at Brooklyn FI to do it for you. I don't know. I find that one very valuable. It's hard to justify to a client who's making, $1 million a year. That's $7,000. A one-time contribution is going to be important. But Roth IRAs are the accounts that we often see grow the most because they are the last thing to get touched, right? Because people spend down their cash, then they spend down their taxable portfolios, then they spend down their 401ks. And we see, multi-million dollar Roth IRAs. They're often the accounts that get passed on to the next generations, right? So don't turn your nose up at those $7,000 backdoor Roth contributions. Those seriously add up.
I mean, it's not about the one-time contribution. It's true that it's because it can't be automated. You have to manually make the one-time contribution every year, which is unfortunate. And if you're making $1 million, going through the back door without assistance becomes like a big headache. And you're like, I'm making $1 million. Why do I have to put $7,000 in a tax advantaged account? But that money is never going to be taxed ever again. And so the availability for it to snowball with a time value of money on your side is going to be fantastic. So if you're making $1 million, you should have a financial advisor that can do this for you. If you're DIYing it, then this is one of the costs to you personally of not having an advisor or assistance. And by the way, I've seen advisors goof the backdoor Roth IRA many times. Most advisors don't do any tax planning at all. Right. My mom's, for example, she was a freelancer. She sells houses every once in a while down in Florida, and he doesn't know when she does it. And she, out of nowhere, sold a bunch of houses in 2019 and made too much money to make a direct Roth contribution. So everything got goofed and had to be reversed. There was taxable consequences. She's not good with paperwork. She doesn't do her tax planning. So hard to say whose fault it was. But if you've got people that take the grip on the reins, like Brooklyn FI does with their clients, then you'll be okay.
Yeah, for sure. Another never pay tax on it again account that I love is a 529 plan. These are the college savings accounts. In some states, you get a deduction in this tax year. New York is one of those states. So every spouse gets a $5,000 deduction in your taxable income in New York. If you're a high income earner in New York, you could be paying up to what's our top bracket here? What at the state level?
It's like 7, I think. It's pretty high. At the state level, and then 4 or 5 at the city. Yeah. Ugh. It gets spicy really quickly.
Yeah.
And then there's new brackets above 25 million of income, which we don't deal with very often.
But we have in the past. We've seen it. It's new bracket, new bracket. Oh.
Usually related to an initial public offering for somebody that's been at a company for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you and I have talked wax poetically about how much we love 529 plans over and over again on the show and elsewhere. It's just a great account. It's for college. If you use it for college, that's great. You get to take the money out completely tax-free. If you use it for tuition, room and board, books, anything your kid or yourself or your niece or your nephew or your best friend, literally anyone can use these dollars for college. You get to take the money out tax-free. If for some reason you don't use it for college, you'll pay tax on it. You'll get a little bit of a penalty, but in my view, it's still worth it if that money is in that account growing for decades without paying taxes. I just can't we're talking about tax planning, so obviously we're obsessed with taxes, but the ability to shield money annually from paying taxes on dividends, interests, any cap gains that you're realizing, if you put that shit in a 401k, a 529 plan, or a Roth IRA, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars in tax savings over the course of your life. So listen up.
You're talking about putting private investments into tax advantaged accounts. I totally forgot about, when we talked about how Roth IRAs aren't that big of a deal, we forget about Peter Thiel's $5 billion Roth IRA because of his...
With that fucking PayPal stock in...
That was Facebook.
It was Facebook?
He put Facebook stock into his Roth IRA, and now it's worth $5 billion that will never be taxed ever again.
Fantastic.
So, are these accounts going to last forever? I don't know. It might be
with this administration...
Now that Peter's guy is the president.
Yeah, Peter's bud.
More so the vice president. You know that J.D. Vance would not be a person without Peter Thiel.
Without his, yes. I just read
Which is
something
very
about that.
scary.
Okay, what else can we do? So we talked about tax advantage retirement accounts. This is an obvious one. Well, maybe it's not that obvious, but charitable contributions. If you are a charitably inclined person, why are you laughing at charitable contributions?
This one always cracks me up. Our average client is 35 years old. I don't think they should be making large charitable contributions, frankly. I'm gonna hot take this one. You go positive, I'll go negative on it.
Okay, positive. You had a huge exit. Studies show that helping others makes you feel better about yourself, and your money goes further. So if you've had, let's say, an outsized $1 million exit, making a significant contribution, 1 to 2 to 5% of that windfall makes people feel better. There's a lot of shit wrong in the world right now, so doing that can be helpful. And if you're already itemizing your tax return, meaning you got a mortgage, you're doing some other things, you can get a fairly nice charitable, reduction in your taxable income for those contributions. And now for the negative of why you should never donate to charity from Mr. Shane Mason.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. Hate to have a hot take here on giving, donating to charity, but if you're, in your mid 30s, you don't know, you have a lot of life ahead of you. You don't know how many kids you're going to have. You could get MLS. Anything could happen to you. You could use,
for sure.
And all of your kids could have MLS. You just don't know. We don't have everything sorted out. Things are getting more and more unstable in the world with all these populist movements. I just think that, in the first, Denzel says in the first third of your life, you learn, the second third you earn, and the last third you return. So I just don't think a lot of our clients are in that return phase yet. And I would like to see them get through the earning phase intact before, we see a lot of people go from riches to rags, unfortunately. So
for sure.
I hear you. I mean, if you're making $20 million, peel something off and make a donation, that's fantastic. But just don't be giving 10% of your income away every single year to causes until you're financially secure. If you're financially secure and you have a financial advisor that says that you can afford it, for sure. But unfortunately, the most charitable people in the world are poor people.
The poorest. Yeah. We see that.
The lowest income people donate to their church, 10% of their income. And it is beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, but there's a lot of financial insecurity in the world around that. So that's just another point of view on the charitable contribution item.
For sure. No, it's a good point. And I think it's also when we look at, our clients who have these massive, 10, 20, $30 million exits, and we go to, our tax team is putting our heads together going what are the strategies? And, we all know the textbook strategies of there's advanced trust planning and there's charitable remainder, CRATs, blah, 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 all these things. They don't make sense for a 35 to 55-year-old. Even if you're 55, even if you're 60, you still have a lot of life left until your point. Who knows? You could have 2 other relationships and 2 other families by the time you're dead.
Yeah.
So
how many divorces are in your near future here, Mr. $20 million? That's not
totally.
Suddenly you're $5 million.
Yep.
And as they say in Succession, $5 million is the worst amount of money to have. You still kind of have to work and you're not rich enough to make any impact on the world. I love that episode so much.
Oh man, I got to rewatch Succession. I feel like I dipped out at the wrong time.
Are we going to talk about healthcare today? Because I don't feel like you personally have ever had an HSA based on your healthcare choices.
I personally have never had an HSA because I need a motherfucking big ass.
We skirted right over HSA accounts.
Oh, please tell us about HSAs.
Talking about tax deferred accounts here.
Please.
Right to the charitable contributions, eh?
Tell us about HSAs, Mr. High Deductible.
Sure. Well, I don't actually know for 2025. I did have a surgery in 2024. I might be at that age where we slide off of the HSAs, but if you're young and healthy, youngish enough and healthy-ish enough, you can get a low deductible health plan. A high deductible health plan, which means that you'll have to spend a lot of money if you do have a health emergency, which means if you have a lot of health issues, you probably shouldn't have a high deductible because you're spending a lot on doctors, PT, surgery, et cetera. But if you are healthy, don't have any issues, if your deductible is high enough, you get access to what's called a health savings account, which means any contributions that you make to that account will give you a tax deduction. And you can even do that for the whole family. You can get up to about $7,500, even $8,000 for you and your spouse in a tax deductible account. As the money grows in the account, it grows tax deferred. And if you use it for qualified medical expenses at any point in your life, you can take the money out and never pay taxes on it ever again. So not only do you get a deduction when you put it in, like a traditional Roth or traditional IRA, if you spend it on healthcare, you never pay taxes on it ever, like a Roth. So it's really sick. So one of the the most tax advantaged
benefits for sure
that exists. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day, Shane, okay, if you could build a model. If you could model out a perfect saver from graduates college with a degree that's useful, like accounting, with no student loans, gets a nice job, starts, you're probably not gonna be able to max out your 401k when you have your first job. You just don't have enough income. What are the, I'm just thinking okay, early 20s, what are you doing? You should probably do Roth 401k, maybe even, you're probably not doing Roth IRA. Maybe your parents started a Roth IRA for you because they were rich and you had that advantage. So you have that Roth from when you were a kid, when you had your, babysitting job or whatever. You do your Roth 401k, then you start making a bit more money. Now you're maxing out your 401k. Maybe you're even doing the back door. Like now you're starting to do 529 plans because you think you want to have kids at some point. Then you're adding on that HSA. I guess I forgot HSA. So like early 20s, let's do HSA contributions. You probably don't need to spend that money. Like you could end your 30s. Like if you had a nice W-2 salaried job making, starting at 50K out of college, ending your 20s at, 200 or even 150, like you're pretty much like with the power of compound interest. If you were able to save, I don't know, back of the napkin here, 300K in those tax advantaged accounts, like you can kind of like take the foot off the brake a little bit in terms of savings as you enter your 30s because you were such a good saver early on. So maybe that would be a fun blog post to like actually like model that out.
I guess the perfect saver, one thing that we're missing, that was a fantastic rundown. I would wager that's less than 1% of human beings in America.
And they're all accountants.
But you said perfect. You said perfect.
Yeah, I said perfect. Yeah. Or software engineers and accountants. I bet there's a few of them.
Speaking
in fact,
of
we
software
have
engineers,
some of them as clients. Yeah.
Right. Speaking of software engineers, I think they would also fit into this last category of young home buyers because if we're also saving. I do consider buying a home as saving. You can say that it's consuming as well because the more home you buy, it could be too much home, right? Like,
well. Somebody's changed their tune a little bit.
What do you mean?
No, I'm just kidding. You used to be so anti home ownership. Anyway.
Yeah, but so if they were able to buy a home in their mid 20s by living in a small cost of living or low cost of living area, that I would also stack that into the savings zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna write about that. What is a perfect execution and usage of tax advantaged accounts and savings and
working remotely from Baton Rouge,
exactly.
Louisiana.
Yeah, having three tech jobs. Speaking of software engineers, while we're talking about year-end tax planning, I do want to talk about equity compensation because we are the world's experts on this subject, literally.
Right.
So as we're approaching,
talk our book here.
Yeah, as we're approaching year end, a lot of folks are coming to us saying like, oh shit, I got to exercise my options. Like, what should I do before the year end? And like, can we talk about exercising stock options for a second? I think unless you're planning to leave your company in the next 3 months, or you think you're going to get laid off or fired or you're retiring, like I think it's too late in the year to exercise incentive stock options. I don't like the idea of us potentially triggering a tax bill and having to pay it by April 15th. Like if there's not a really good reason, like it's too late, bro. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of stuff can get done in December. Unfortunately, if you're doing stock planning, there's a lot of holidays in December. So unfortunately, we do typically get requests to trade stocks after Christmas, which are really tight and tough to deal with. And the blackout windows won't reopen for a lot of people that work at public companies until after Q4 reports are in, which because it's, Q4 reports are typically for the whole year and the audit needs to be done. They come in later than the other quarters. So it's a lot harder to get that stuff done.
Yeah, for sure. I think, stock options. Yeah. Executing trades. I mean, hopefully if you're executing trades at a public company, maybe you have already put in your orders because maybe you already have a 10b5-1 plan. Maybe like you were just able to say to your public company, like, just please sell my RSUs as soon as they vest. And then you don't have to worry about it. And then you don't have to log into your computer. We call this the Christmas problem, right? You don't have to log into your computer while your family is just like chilling the day after Christmas on Boxing Day or whatever. And like, you're like, oh, sorry, I got to like trade my RSUs so I don't get this like extra annoying tax in case the share price jumps or tanks. Like,
yeah, in a real mechanical sense, like you're on your mom's or your sister's couch with your laptop and you got to get on their Wi-Fi and then your two factor's weird. And like, there's all these new resistances to getting things done that you don't have when you're in your home in late November, early December.
Yeah. I mean, we innovate a lot here at Brooklynify. I would say one of our biggest innovations is our ability to trade our clients' company stock for them. Like we actually we take custody. We go in there. Of course, they've all agreed to it. We're not like going buck wild, like sell this, sell that. They've agreed to the floor price that they want to sell it at. We've agreed to how much, and it's just handled. And then the money shows up in their diversified portfolio within 4 business days. Like that's pretty cool. I mean, I feel like a lot of the industry is afraid. The other like financial planners are like afraid of complexity, and you and I are just like, all right, how hard can this actually be? And listener, it's pretty hard, but we figured it out.
For better or for worse.
For
yes,
better or for worse.
That's
for
our
richer
default.
or for poorer. Okay, what else can we do with stock option or equity compensation before the year ends? I know you hate charity, but donating your...
Okay, wow, okay. I knew you were going to take this angle.
Of course.
Just
I'm
think
just
about
razzing
it.
you. I'm just razzing it. You're right. I agree with you. As you need to build wealth, there's too many unknowns to be giving money away that we might need. Okay, I agree with you. But if you are going to give away money,
Can I give some other perspective on that real quick?
Of course, please.
When we circle back to it, I think that at your age, what you do have is a lot of vitality, right? You might not have a lot of money. You might have had a liquidity event. I would advocate that things that make you a lot happier would actually be donating your time rather than just giving the money away. So if you can give a day or two or just a few hours a month or a week if you're lucky, then that will provide that deep source of like, I gave a piece of myself, a piece of my vitality to an organization. So I think money's awesome. Appreciated stock, donor advised funds, do it all, especially if you have wealth. Wealth inequality in this country is terrible and getting worse, but also think about giving away time as well.
For sure.
Anyway.
Yes. No. Good point. No, I was just gonna, So yeah. But if you are in that position to give away money, you can also just go ahead and donate your appreciated stock. So if you, worked at Apple in the early 2000s and you got a bunch of Apple stock that's done fantastic, instead of giving cash away, you can literally donate your appreciated securities. Therefore, you don't actually have to recognize that gain. So you don't have to pay tax on that. The charity, which is already tax exempt, congratulations to them. They just get to receive that fantastic inflated Apple stock. We love that. What else? Just generally, tax loss harvesting, this idea that you've got a diversified portfolio, you own a bunch of stocks or ETFs, and if you notice one of those stocks has performed poorly this year, one of those funds has performed poorly, you sell it. You buy something that's kind of similar, it's different enough so it doesn't trigger any kind of wash sale rules or anything like that. You buy something else, so you were actually able to recognize a loss. You're able to write down on a piece of paper. I'm simplifying this, obviously. Hey IRS, I lost $10,000 on this stock, but in reality, because you purchased something similar within a 24-hour, basically instantly, the makeup of your portfolio hasn't actually changed. So that's a really neat tool, tax loss harvesting, that we do here all the time. Our trading team is constantly looking for unique and, really like specialized opportunities for each client, because, client A over here has got, let's use our example, has $1 million of Apple stock with a $1 million gain. Like, what else can we do in the rest of their portfolio to kind of bring that gain down? And that's just, to me, that's, again, so valuable. People talk about trying to beat the market, like, hey, the stock market is up 20 whatever % this year. It's like, yeah, but there were those 4 really volatile periods. Like, what was your financial advisor doing during those periods? If they weren't actively looking for opportunities for arbitrage, like, what are you doing? Or you're busy. Did you notice when that stock market took that insane dive? When was that? August? I was like on a flight. I was like in a Delta lounge and I was like, holy shit. And what was like, our trading team was super busy. Like, we literally canceled all the meetings that day because we're like, all right, everyone, all hands on deck. We got to like harvest. We were like literally in the fields with the scythes. We were like harvesting those losses.
We got to make hay while the sun shines, as I say. That's how that phrase works, by the way.
Okay.
In case you ever need to use it in the future.
Cool. Make it rain while the sun haze.
There it is.
Okay, so I don't know.
It's really raining bats and frogs out here today.
It really
in New York,
is. It truly is. It's yep. Okay, lots of good stuff. Max out your 401k, folks. Do tax loss harvesting. Don't try to do this shit on your own. What else? Oh, we have a follow-up question from last week. We have a listener question. The listener question is, I have $3,000 left on my spend before I hit Delta Diamond Medallion. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to do this $3,000 spend in order to get Diamond Medallion status? This person reached out to me and said I'd already given up, but then I listened to your show and now I'm back in the game. What should I do?
Yeah, I would do it. I would buy $3,000 of Delta gift cards.
That's what I said.
Yeah. It depends on how much you're going to fly in 2025.
But see, we're what's the phrase? Like we're doing exactly what they want us to do, right? Delta has all these perks because they want us to spend money on Delta. So what are we going to do? We're going to boost Delta's earnings for this quarter by buying Delta fucking gift cards. But again, like as we hammered home last week, like if you're going to spend it anyway, like I am definitely going to spend $3,000 on Delta Airlines in the next 6 to 8 months. That is a guarantee unless I am unable to travel. But that's basically definitely going to happen. So sure, buy the damn gift cards. What were you going to say?
I have a date with a United flight attendant tonight. So I'm
Really?
going to get pitched on switching over from Delta to United. So stay tuned, dear listener, for next week's episode.
I've heard Nabil flies United first class sometimes. I've heard it's pretty good. But anyway, yeah, next week we're switching. You're getting a United credit
Well, did
card.
you see there was an article from View on the Wing about how Delta is planning to make everything shittier in 2025. Look, they had an investor release about their point system and all that. So
Oh yeah. Actually, after we hung up last week, you and I like read a bunch more and are actually a lot more informed than we were on the podcast. So maybe we should do a follow up.
No, that's not true. There's just some updates coming down the pipeline for 2020. I mean, that's what all companies.
Yeah.
We said on the podcast that when the value of a loyalty program exceeds what is necessary, they will reduce the value of it, and that's just what's probably happening over the next few years because of the loyalists out there.
Yep.
Anyway,
All right.
we're out of time.
We're out of time. You want to read us out, Shane?
I definitely would if I had the.
Okay, all right, folks. Thanks. Hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving. We're grateful to you, listeners. You're the best. Please keep the questions coming. I know you're not going to leave a voicemail, but we're going to say it every time anyway. And someday, someone will leave us a voicemail. You can do that at memo.fm/liquidity event. We will play it on the air. And finally, Stans can leave us a review if they want to be worried about it. Thanks for your support. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you.